Good morning and welcome to this session on economics and finance. My name is Nilanjan Banik. I have joined as professor in economics at School of Management over at Mahindra University. And as you know that I see some of the common names, and as you know that this is third time in a row that we are doing trying to bring before you in what way what we are offering is going to be different, and in what way it's going to be helpful for your career prospect. Now, because this is an introductory session on economics and finance, I thought that I will start with the basic, in the sense that let's start with trying to get some of your comment. So let's ask Tejashi, how old are you? Are you there, Tejashi?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm 17 years old.
Okay. What about you, Ashirya?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How old are
18
you?
years.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking is when I was around 18 or 17 years old, and when we used to get inside the classroom, the first thing which used to ask or discuss among us, I'm sure that this is the natural question to ask, that why is it that the professor is teaching what he or she is teaching us, So likewise, and many a times we used to come out of the classroom trying to ponder that what is the relevance of what we are being taught in real day-to-day activity. So what I thought that I will kind of try to give an overview under three broad ideas. So let me share my the screen, and so can all of you can see my screen, right? Yes, no?
Yes, professor. Yes,
okay,
professor.
okay. So now, as you know that we are offering three different programs, and today we are going to talk about this program which is about BA in economics and finance. And what I started off by saying that I will try to ensure that this discussion happens under these three broad premise. The first is the why, that why it is important for us to understand or know these bits of economics and finance. Then what we do with this knowledge that we gather by trying to know about this economics and finance, and how we apply this knowledge, so this is what we are going to do. So let's start with, because we are trying to understand from you. So if I were to ask you that, why is it that, why you think that this economics is important? So we are starting off with this BA in economics and finance. Why you think? Anyone? Don't feel shy, please. Whatever comes to your mind. Yes, Shrimoy? Why you think that?
So what I think is economics is important in our daily life because it helps us to improve the living standards.
Okay. So let's try to see. You are saying that it's actually help us to improve the living standard, and how we kind of know that whether our living standard is improving or not. I've given you a kind of a hint. So have you heard about this word GDP?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
what is GDP?
So it's the full form is gross domestic product.
Yeah.
Which is basically it's comparing on the basis of the market price, how much the products which have been produced, what is the price at the market price.
So basically it is trying to tell us that, if I again want to focus on the why part, we, as Shrimoy was saying, that we want to increase our income. And so the way to understand how much income is there for any particular economy, the best way to understand this is to look at the GDP, right? Now, if you look into in terms of the GDP, where do you stand, where India is standing? What do you think? How big is our market? If I were to understand that, how big is our GDP? What do you think?
Sir, our GDP is in the top 10. The
top 10. Okay. Now, okay. So let me come back to what Shrimoy just now said, that we want to increase our income. Now, when you are trying to increase our income, a way to understand whether our income is increasing or not is to look at GDP. Now, GDP is the national income because it is trying to tell you that on the whole, how much the Indian economy, what is the market size of the Indian economy, right? Now, you also know that in terms of the total market size, we are now the third largest in the world, just after which are the two other countries ahead of us? Any idea?
Yes.
In China.
Which one? China?
Yes, sir.
US and China, right? And now let's try to understand what about the per capita income, because per capita income is total size of a national income over the population. So if you are looking at the per capita income, how much is your per capita income? Take a guess.
Should be around 100 countries, sir. It should be around 100.
No, a per capita income, what the average Indian is earning. Now, there are two ways to understand this. If I am looking into the per capita income on an absolute term, it is around $2,100 per capita per annum, you know. Now, you can always argue that it is not the right way of understanding, because the cost of living actually varies across various countries, you know. And therefore, if I were to adjust for the difference in cost of living across various countries, our per capita income actually get inflated, which is around roughly right now, as we are talking, around $7,000 per capita per annum. Now, if I am looking in terms of the US per capita income, it is coming to around $66,000 per capita per annum, you know. So although we are the third largest economy in terms of the market size, but when it comes to the per capita income, we are really, really down the ladder, you know. So the question is, why we want to understand economics from the macro perspective is because we want to, like, again, as Srimoy was trying to say, that over a period of time, we want to ensure that how the quality of living, we can improve the quality of living. And we try to make sure that more people get more jobs. We have more employment opportunities. People are earning money, and we are moving up the income ladder. So that is one part as to why we want to understand economics, and why through various policy decisions, which we can actually undertake, how to improve the quality of living over a period of time. Now, if you look into this particular graph, you will find that what we have here is, I have tried to measure GDP over a period of time. Now, this is the supply side, meaning that how much we are able to supply in terms of goods and services. And this is the demand side, you know. So the difference between demand and supply, at some point of time when you have more demand compared to supply, then what happens is you have inflation. And as you know that the inflation is bad, because why? Because it is kind of going to hurt the poor more than the rich people. On the other hand, if you have recession, meaning that there are more supply than compared to demand, then people are not going to find job. As you know that right now we are going through COVID, and there are many loss in life and livelihood. And because of that, there is an increase in unemployment. People are losing their employment opportunities. So that as an economist, you start pondering that in what way the policy, from the policy side, we can try to undertake some policy which will reduce the inflation and as well maximize the unemployment. Minimize the unemployment. Is it clear, guys? Any question from any one of you? So this is one part of the economics that we are trying to talk about, and this is what we are calling as the macroeconomics. Now, there is another essential part of economics that we are going to also talk about, is the microeconomics. Microeconomics is more about how people make choice. Now, if I ask you another question, and I see only two of you are participating, please try to participate more. In the sense that if I ask you that, why is it that people want to make a choice? What would be your answer?
So because there's a constraint, whether it be time or resources, there's a constraint towards it.
Let's try to ask this question from some more other participants. I see only Shreya's answering. Why do you think that the people make choice?
Probably because of a variety of options available.
Okay, options available. Can you, Tejaswi, can you just elaborate more? So options are available, that's fine. But the thing is, why want to go for option A vis-a-vis option B? What is
In
that?
order to lead a better life, better income or better life.
No, better income, better life, that is coming from the macro side, right?
So probably the comfort level is different from.
No, so comfort level is different, but how I know that which good or services if I buy? Let's say that I walk up to the Forum Mall and I want to buy between an iPhone and let's say a Redmi or any other Samsung Galaxy phone. How I make a choice?
Sir,
we buy whatever suitable for us.
So what are the two
Like every
important things?
person's
So what are the two important things that we are looking at before making a choice?
utility, the amount of satisfaction.
Yeah, satisfaction, very nice. But how I know that, because ideally I'd like to buy an iPhone, right? But
budget also.
so each one of
Brand
us,
value.
brand value, that's fine, because as I'm saying that I always wanted to buy an iPhone. But if you ever come to my office, you will see that I'm actually using a Redmi or this phone. So why is it that I'm making a choice of a cheaper variety of smartphone compared to iPhone?
Because of
budget problem.
The budget.
Budget problem.
Yes, so there is each one of
Because of the
us.
cost and the budget.
Yeah, so each one of us we are operating with a budget constraint, right?
Yes, sir.
And therefore, given our budget or given our money income, the choice that we make is, as someone just rightly pointed out, is given the variety of choice, given my budget income or money income, I'd like to pick up that item which I feel that I'm getting the maximum benefit, right? So do you think that this kind of thing happens with Mukesh Ambani? Because he doesn't have budget constraint, right? So Nilanjan might be having a budget constraint and therefore he's settling down with a cheaper quality smartphone. What about Mukesh Ambani? Do he needs to understand economics?
Yes, sir.
Why?
To maintain.
He might not have a budget to buy. He might have the budget to buy an iPhone, but he might not have a budget to buy or build an entire city. So
Okay.
Depends on the scale of the projects. Like his scale of projects might be bigger, which might be bigger than this, which actually need budget.
Can you elaborate a little bit more, because you're on the right track? Yes. So from budget, we went to the choice part, right? For Mukesh Ambani, it's more about the choice, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we are dealing here?
So here again,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry to interrupt, sir. Can I?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So for Mukesh Ambani, I mean, he faces the same problems as a common man, just on a bigger level. So for Mukesh Ambani, maybe buying an iPhone would not be a problem. But for him, the bigger question would be, which venture should I invest into? Like,
very good. So it's the choice, right? So
yes.
Here, as you can understand, the choice which is there before Mukesh Ambani is which venture should I invest? Because see, as a consumer, my objective function is different than the objective function of a business conglomerate owner like Mukesh Ambani, or a firm owner, or a manufacturer, right? Because as a consumer, I am operating with a limited money income, and therefore I want to make a choice of goods and services which I think I am able to get the maximum satisfaction given my money income, right? Likewise, if I am Mukesh Ambani, or for that matter, if I am, let's say, Anand Mahindra, my choice is, my objective function is different, because my objective function is how to expand my business empire. Now, if I'm looking into Mukesh Ambani, what is his choice, or what are the different choices that he can make? One, I can invest in the petrochem industry. B, I can invest in service sector, for instance, Reliance Jio. C, I can, let's say, invest in retail. As you know that Reliance Retail, they're on a shopping spree. They are buying. Even yesterday, I heard that they are buying Subway. This thing that you are taking. So for Mukesh Ambani, the choice is, or the objective function is different, and he would like to invest in such a fashion so that the return from investment that he is making is maximum. So both me as a consumer, Nilanjan as a consumer, or Mukesh Ambani as a business magnate, our choice is again depending upon that we are trying to maximize our return. So this is common between across all individuals, whether be it Nilanjan or be it Mukesh Ambani. Is it clear? So that is the why part of economics, because and now let's try to understand about Mr. Modi, Mr. Narendra Modi. His objective function is what? So we are now talking about the government. If I'm talking about, so we have talked about the consumer, we have talked about the producer or the firm owner. Now let's talk about Mr. Narendra Modi, who happens to be our Prime Minister. What is his objective function?
Welfare of the country.
Very good. Welfare of the country, and how we ensure, or how do we ensure that the welfare of the country is increasing? It is through this simple graph, that over a period of time, I should ensure my GDP is increasing, which is there, as you can see that over a period of time, the GDP is increasing. And in the short run, because my demand may be greater than the supply, or my demand may be less than the supply, in the short run, my objective as a policymaker, let's say I'm working as an economist with let's say Ministry of Finance, or let's say I'm working as an economist with, let's say, Reliance Industry. So in the short run, my objective is, given this inflation numbers or given the unemployment numbers, how to ensure that, and we in economics, when I will be taking this class, I'm going to explain this more. We call this the difference between demand and supply as output gap. So the objective function of Mr. Narendra Modi is how to increase the per capita availability of output, as one of you rightly mentioned, that how to increase the per capita availability of output is in a way of suggesting that how to increase the welfare, or how to increase the per capita income. As I just now mentioned, that although in terms of the market size, Indian economy in per capita terms, we are the third largest economy in the world. I'm using the word per capita because to adjust for the difference in cost of living across various countries, because it's not the same thing to live in, let's say, downtown LA and live over at Bahadurpalli in Hyderabad, because the cost of living is much higher if you were to live in Los Angeles as opposed to live in Hyderabad. Because if you go to, let's say, for a movie theater, or if you go out for dinner, you will have to spend more money. Or even if you were to take a house on rent, you have to spend more money in any metros in the US as compared to what you have to spend in India. Is it clear, guys? So that is coming to the why part, that why economics is important. Likewise, why finance is important. Can anyone suggest why finance is important? So the economics part is important because we want to make a choice, rational choice. Why we want to make a choice? Because whether I'm an industrialist, whether I'm a consumer, whether I'm a government. Now, I haven't talked about the choice which is open for the government. What would be the choice that is open for the government? Again, what is the objective function? The objective function for the government is how to increase the per capita income or national welfare, right? So if that is the objective function, we have spoken about Nilanjan, we have spoken about Mukesh Ambani. What about Mr. Narendra Modi? What is his objective function? Anyone?
To work for the betterment of the public.
Yeah, so what are the choices available? How to ensure that the per capita income increases?
He can either increase the employment or provide scheme by providing schemes or subsidies.
How? So that comes to the how part. Yeah.
So by
Uh,
increasing private sector.
So what are the choices available before Mr. Modi? You know that he has the choice whether to invest in hospital. He has the choice whether to invest in education. He has the choice, very good, to invest in infrastructure. He has the choice to invest in maybe services sector. Do I give more incentive to Tech Mahindra, Infosys of the world? Do I give, so that is that private sector, as someone was pointing out, do I give more incentive for the agriculture, because we are seeing the farm protest happening? I'm sure that if you're reading the newspaper, you are seeing that there are lots of farmers protesting in the National Capital Territory region. He has the choice to ensure, or he has the choice to make sure that more manufacturing capability comes up more, because right now a bigger question is it that in India is creating employment opportunity? And if you talk to young graduates, the most important thing that they are looking at, that whether will I get a job once I graduate. So that is the choice which is that the government has to make. Whether which one of the sector, be it agriculture, be it manufacturing, be it services. Within manufacturing, is it the private sector manufacturing, or is it the government sector? Where should I put more money? Again, objective is to increase the welfare or the per capita income. So whenever we are talking in terms of economics, please understand there are three parties, three economic agent, as we say. The first is the government, the second is the consumer, and the consumer is the most important one, and the third is the producer, like Mukesh Ambani. And each one of us, we are working with a very important objective, is how to maximize our return. And this maximize our return means, as choices are limited. Why choices are limited? Because the economics and finance says that in terms of resources, we are operating with a scarce resource. Even for Mukesh Ambani, the example I was trying to elaborate is, Mukesh Ambani is also operating with the choice whether to invest between petrochemical or Reliance Jio, which is a services sector. So the choice one has to make depends upon the perceived return, and the return for the consumer is, given my money income, how much return or satisfaction I'm making. For Mukesh Ambani, given my wealth, or given my cash reserve, where to invest and how much to invest, and to ensure that I'm getting the maximum from that investment. And for the government, again, because the government is, do you think the government is operating with a fixed budget constraint?
Yes,
sir.
Why? Government can ask RBI, which is a central bank, to print as much money as they can. What is the big thing about that?
Sir, the money that the government spends is actually the people's money, right? So we need to have a budget. We need to have a limit on the amount of money we are spending, so that we don't spend too much, so that we don't go bankrupt. Our government shouldn't go bankrupt. That is why we need to have a budget.
Okay, now
by printing more bills, it'll increase inflation. And
yes,
in Germany, like in what happened in 1930s, the Great Depression, like I forgot, that situation will happen where where it will cost you so much of money even to buy a piece of bread.
No, that's perfectly well said, in the sense that when the government is printing more money, it can always ask the Reserve Bank of India, which is our central bank, to print more money. But if it do that, it is going to end up as inflation. So the government is also operating with a fixed budget constraint, in the sense that it also is going to operate with the same kind of idea that we are talking about, that how to ensure that the sector, do I invest more agriculture? Even within agriculture, do I invest more in, let's say, towards cold storage, or do I invest for building more e-mandi, or do I invest towards building more food processing unit. Each one of this, you can see that the benefit are different, you know. So for instance, in India, because we have lack of cold storage, a large chunk of our agricultural produce actually get wasted, you know. And therefore, from the intervention, the government choice, it makes sense for the government to invest within the agricultural sector to build more cold storage unit. You know? So you can understand that whether we are talking about the government, whether we are talking about the producer, whether we are talking about the consumer, each one of us, our objective function may be different, but we are working under the same objective. And therefore, this why part of economics and finance become important. Now, finance, why it is important? Finance, I ask this question, why finance is important? Economics, we understand because of the choice that we have to make. Why finance is important?
Sir, it makes us understand about the daily cash flow, and I mean, it helps us manage our money and stay more organized.
Okay, so let me ask you a very basic question. What is the role of bank in any economy? Why do you think banks are so important?
Provide loans.
Safety.
So let's say one fine morning you wake up and you find that all the banks which were there and they're now gone, you know, what will happen? What do you think is going to happen? Of course, A, you are going to lose all your money, but forget about that. What is the bigger picture that we are talking about?
The money rotation will stop.
And who is going to get affected because of that?
The people who are depositing the money and the people who are receiving the money as loans.
Who are the people who receive the money? Or who are the ones who take maximum number of loans from the bank? Businessman, right? Yes. So the banks, they actually act as a conduit between the people, like we call it saver or the consumer, because we earn income and we also save a portion of our income, right? And we actually keep it as a fixed deposit in the bank. And the bank in turn lend those money, fixed deposit, to the businessman. You know, they are the ones who actually require money. And they use that money to expand their business, you know. Now, in a country like India, so what is the difference between country like India and country like US? Anyone? When we are talking about the financial sector?
Sir,
Yeah.
may I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, in India, we are mostly we're a farming economy, like agricultural economy. We focus more on agriculture, while in the United States, they are like more of a industrial economy. Like they have more industries and they're focusing more on the business.
Gayatri, my question was that let's try to understand what Gayatri is trying.
May I answer the question? May I answer the question?
Just yeah, of course you can, but just allow me to finish this conversation with Gayatri. So Gayatri, in the US, do you think that the more number of people who want to take loan, they can take loan as opposed to the number of people who want to get loan from the banks in India?
Yes, I think so. I mean, actually, most of the people, they live on credit, is what I have read.
Yeah. So what you've read is in a way correct, in the sense that in terms of financial penetration, you know, in the sense that if you talk to any small business owner in India, he or she will complain that even if I go to the bank, I'm not going to get the loan. If you talk to any small and marginal farmers, they will also tell you the same thing. Because in India, in terms of the formal financial sector, formal means we are talking about the banks, we are not talking about the local money lender, you know. So in terms of financial penetration, it is still much less compared to what we see in the context of developed countries like the US, you know. So that is a problem, because even if I may have a very good business idea, I might not be able to get a loan. Just think of this. You talk to any person who work as I'm sure that some of your family member is working as a bank manager or working in any bank. You just talk to them. They will say that if and some of you will be doing some project, you know, and they will say that if I were if I have a very good business idea, let's say you are coming up with a startup and you want to get some loan from the bank, you approach a bank manager, he or she will not be willing to give you a loan. But on the other hand, I don't have much money income, but I want to buy a car, and I approach a bank manager. I get the car loan then and there. Why is it that if I want to buy a car, I get a loan instantly? On the other hand, if I have a great startup idea and I'm approaching a bank manager, I'm not able to get a loan.
Because of
The
collateral.
risk of failure.
No, in both the case, I'm willing to give a collateral, because no one is going to give you a loan. You just approach. Yeah.
Risk of failure, sir.
Risk, yeah, because in one case, see, when I'm giving as a bank manager a car loan, I know the risk and return. I know the risk profile, because this is a time-tested idea, because people have been giving car loan for years, you know. But if I'm looking at a startup, I have no clue whether this startup will actually succeed or not, you know. And therefore, in terms of, so in the context of developed countries, all this, the risk return profiling are better done. The system are able to capture it much better compared to what we see in the context of India. India is developing, as you know, that starting 1991, what happened in 1991, by the way?
LPG policies.
LPG policy. So we started off, for the sake of the audience, what is LPG policy?
Liberalization, privatization, and globalization.
Yes. So for the first time, we started opening up our economy, you know. Now, if you, a few days back, I was reading the newspaper, and guys, please do read the newspaper, because it's a very important way to update with the recent development, because when you go out to the job market, or even if you're going for the higher study, these are the knowledge or the information that we can use for anything that we are learning. For instance, a few days back, I came across a news item which says that our foreign reserve has crossed $600 billion, you know, which is a big money compared to when we started off with during 1991, when we had only 2 weeks of foreign exchange reserve to service our import, you know. So because of that, we had to borrow in from the Bank of England some gold. So we have actually come a long way. If you look into the return on real wage, we are talking about the per capita income, our real wage has improved 5-fold, which is almost saying that 500 times. And mind you, I use the word real. Why I'm using the word real? Anyone? When you are talking of the real wage, it has improved 500 times compared to what we were getting during early 1990s.
So, because we are accounting to inflation.
Yes, you don't want to say that your lifestyle has improved because of nominal income. Always when we are looking at the GDP or the income, we are talking in, so for instance, right now we are talking about GDP growth of 6%, you know. So that is in real term, because in nominal term, it doesn't make sense. So in terms of real income, real wage rate, it has improved 5-fold, which means almost 500% it has increased, you know. So that is a great way in terms of suggesting that over a period of time, how using the knowledge of economics and finance, so that is what we are saying, that the what is GDP, what is inflation, how we make a choice, what is unemployment. So the what part is going to talk about the data, you know. The what part is also going to suggest to you that in what way, be it Mukesh Ambani, be it Nilanjan, or be it Mr. Modi, is going to intervene or going to work in the market in order to ensure A, the per capita income is increasing, B, that we are making a choice which we think is we are able to optimize, we have actually able to make the right decision, because and this is again we are going to talk later, when in economics or in finance we have certain thing called choice variable. Choice variable is the choice we make. We also, and these are what we call as something under our control, but there can be some variable which are not under our control. For instance, my money income. It's not under my control. It depends what my boss think about my output, you know. So over a period of time, whether Nilanjan is making more or less money is a function of variety of other things, which is not directly under Nilanjan's control, you know. But what is under Nilanjan control is whether he is going to buy an iPhone or he is going to buy a Samsung Galaxy. Are you getting? So that is the what part is actually helps the people given the data. So the what part is not only try to explain various concepts, but it also helps us to understand the given the data, what we are going to do with the data, you know. So that brings to the the how part, what we are going to do with the data. And as I was saying, this is some of the information that I have already shared with you. We are still in the low income category of countries, because if you look into the annualized per capita income, this is the World Bank way of defining various countries. So we are, if I'm talking of the absolute income, we are in the lower middle income category. If I'm talking income adjusted for purchasing per capita, we are in the upper middle income category. But the matter of the fact remains that we have a long way to go. And how to do that? We have to reduce inflation, we have to increase per capita income, we have to increase the growth rate and things like that. Okay. Now, given this, what we have discussed so far, this is a job that I'm going to give to you right now. Let's say we are talking about China and India. Okay. And I'm going to throw some numbers and let me see how you react to this. Now, in terms of per capita income, if I'm looking into Chinese per capita income, and let's try to talk in terms of purchasing power parity, because that is much more a logical way of comparing both countries, which is again what I'm actually adjusting for the difference in cost of living. So it's basically saying that the cost of living, if the cost of living between China and India were to be the same, what is the per capita income? So in that case, the Chinese per capita income would be around 17,000 US dollar. The Indian per capita income would be around 7,000 US dollar. Now let me also give you some more information. Let's try to think about the investment part. Now, investment is depends upon what? Anyone? How much a country is going to invest is conditional upon what factor?
So the reserves the country has.
No, reserve the country has, they are not going to invest, they are holding it, right? The reserve, the foreign exchange reserve is something we are not investing, we are just holding that amount. We are actually holding that. It's like a saving, you know, saving which you have not put as a bank deposit, you are just holding it, you know.
Sir, would you, I mean, is it okay if I ask a question regarding?
Yes, please.
In investments, what exactly are you asking? Like, are you asking foreign investment or?
No, I'm asking domestic investment. If I'm asking that domestic investment, how much you think? I think Sri Chandana also want to answer. Yeah. So domestic investment, how much you think India invests as a whole? Take a guess. So investment is function of two things. One, how much we are saving, right? Because only if we can save, remember I said that once you save, you put that money in the bank acts as an intermediary between the people like us and the manufacturers, right? So who are the one who actually invest? It is the business owners, right? So how much you're going to invest depends upon two things, that how well our we have access to the financial sector, and B, and within the financial sector, what are the various financial instruments we have, you know, that is also a very important thing why we want to understand finance, because I can invest in stock market, I can invest in foreign exchange market, I can invest in bank, invest as in I can open a fixed deposit in bank, I can and there can be various financial instruments. For instance, I can use stock market and buy some call option, put options, you know, and try to make money, you know. So how much I invest depends upon A, my saving. Again, what is saving? given my income and how much I spend on a day-to-day basis, whatever excess remains is my saving. So with that saving, either I can open a fixed deposit, or I can buy some call option, put option in the stock market, or I can buy some equity, or I can buy some foreign exchange. So these are all kind of different types of investment. Once I put my money in the bank lend it out to the, let's say, various parties, they are also going to invest. So given this, what do you think? How much of investment happens in China as opposed to India? Take a guess.
So I think China
of national income. So when you are talking about investment, because you are going to invest as part, it's conditional upon your saving, and saving in turns depend upon your income, right? So as part of GDP, what percentage of income get invested in China vis-a-vis in India?
So India, it will be around 12%, and China, it will be around 20%. I'm just making a wild guess.
You're making a wild guess. In fact, that is wild actually. So any other one? So if you look into the recent numbers, China actually invests close to 42% of their national income towards investment, and in India, the number is around 28%, So do you think that this big difference is going to some way going to reflect in terms of economic outcome?
Yes, it will.
Yes, sir.
So,
see, we are now having a clear winner in terms of who is participating. Only I see few people participating. Are you guys not interested in getting the prize? Because make my life difficult in trying to given a choice, who should I give the prize? So now I've given you two pieces of information. One is in terms of per capita income. Chinese per capita income is around $17,000 per capita per annum. This is again adjusting for the difference in cost of living. India's per capita income is around $7,000. In terms of investment, China invests 42% of their GDP, whereas India is investing only 28% of our GDP. My question is, what is the outcome if I were to invest less? What do you think is going to happen?
So I can give the opposite. So what happens if one person invests more into the?
Yeah, so that's my question. That if China is investing more, what do you think is?
Then the services provided by them and the job creation would definitely be more than the other.
Exactly. So if I look into the manufacturing sector, and manufacturing sector is the one which create more number of jobs in comparison to the services sector, right? Because if I look into the manufacturing sector, by the way, between India and China, so there are three pillars of the economy, or there are three ways you can earn income. Either you can work as a farmer, or in the agricultural sector you can earn money. B, you can work in the private sector, private manufacturing sector, or government manufacturing sector. You can earn income. C, you can also work in the services sector. It can be government services and it can be private sector services. So if I'm talking about, let's say, right now what I'm doing working as a professor, do you think I'm working of course I'm working in the private sector, but is it a service industry or is it a manufacturing industry?
Service.
It's a service, right?
Services.
So if I were to kind of distinguish between India and China, that the major distinction is in both India and China, almost 55% of our national income comes from the services sector. So there is not too much of difference between India and China. But in terms of manufacturing sector, given what we just now said, that in terms of investment as a proportion of national income, you will see that the Chinese are investing far more in comparison to what the Indians are investing, and therefore, as a proportion of the manufacturing sector, China is contributing 39% of the national income. It is coming from the manufacturing sector, and therefore they are also going to create more jobs, because what is the difference between services and the manufacturing? Services require more skilled job, but the manufacturing, you can actually, this skill can be earned in the sense that you can, if I work as a factory worker, I can actually acquire that skill by looking into my peer group. It's not going to be that difficult. But on the contrary, if I ask someone, I bring someone and ask him or her to lecture on economics, that thing might not be that easy, because for me to become a professor in economics, it requires certain specialized skill set, which is not there in the context of manufacturing. And therefore, what I say that the reason why China is able to create more jobs is because they were able to ensure that they are investing a large portion of the GDP towards the manufacturing sector, as opposed to what we are doing in the in India. And therefore, you will also hear this word that India has leapfrogged from the agricultural sector to the services sector. So without actually creating, or without actually making our manufacturing sector that competitive. I wish in fact, the government is now trying to improve competitiveness of our manufacturing sector. What are the schemes? Have you heard of any schemes that the government has undertaken recently to make our manufacturing sector more competitive?
So they're providing schemes to the subsidies to the MSMEs.
MSME, what else?
Make in India.
Very good. Make in India and Atmanirbhar
Bharat.
Yes, so these are the two schemes that the government is launching. It actually launched Atmanirbhar Bharat. They have given lots of incentive, in particular last year, after the COVID thing happened. Tejashi, you have a question, please.
So I was just wondering, if the government only invests 28% of the GDP of the national income, then what happens to the rest of the money?
So the rest of the money, 55% is going towards the manufacturing or industry, and the remaining is going towards the agriculture. So these are the three areas where the government can invest, right?
Okay, so investment over here doesn't mean like, what does investment mean? Like
investment means how much money you are putting to towards a particular sector. So I can put, you remember that we are talking about the choice which is left before the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi.
Yeah.
The choice is whether to invest in the agricultural sector, whether to invest in the manufacturing. Within manufacturing, it can be, let's say, whether I build more iron steel plant, or I build more aluminum industry. And within services, do I invest more in hospitals? Do I invest more in schools? Do I invest more in banks? Do I invest more in telecommunications? So these are various choices, So one thing that Mr. Modi should keep in mind, that how to ensure A, the per capita income is increasing, B, people are getting more jobs. And how people will get more jobs is if I were to invest more in manufacturing.
Okay.
Because it does not require that much skill which is required for the services sector. Of course, you can also argue that within services sector, I also have the local panwala or the tea shop owner. If you just walk, I'm sure you'll be visiting our campus very soon. But if you just walk outside our main campus, this Bahadurpalli office, you'll find that small tea shop owners who are actually, so they are also part of the services sector. But all I'm trying to argue is, in the services sector, if I'm looking into the number of people, the per capita income of the people are much higher compared to the people who are earning their livelihood from agriculture or manufacturing. Even if I were to take into account this type of the skewed distribution of income, So now in case of services, now I've almost have told you the story of China and India, because in China, they are able to not only ensure better job creation because they are giving more incentive for the manufacturing sector. They're also ensuring that their manufacturing sector is competitive. And as you know, it has a reflection in terms of the trade variables, in the sense that if I look into the China as a Chinese economy as a percentage of world trade, even in India, most of the items that we import are from China, be it mobile phone, be it any household gadget that you are using for day-to-day activity. And the reason why you are importing from China and not buying from your domestic any firm is because the Chinese manufacturers are more competitive, be it in terms of price, be it in terms of the type of innovation they're bringing to their quality products. So this is in short. And if I, unfortunately in India, and this is also true in case of China, if I look into the distribution of income, which one you think is in India is capturing our distribution of income? Which one of these three figures? In India, we have this.
First.
Any other guess?
Sir, I think the third one.
The third one. Why you don't think the first one? Who said the first one?
Sir, Chandana.
Chabi?
Chandana.
Okay, Chandana, yeah.
So why should I tell you?
Yeah, why you think the first one?
Because it says mean is the lowest, which means the average income of the people is low.
So what we have on the vertical axis, it's actually the population, right?
Okay.
So, and on the horizontal axis, you have cumulative income, right? So basically it is saying that we have majority of the population, which is the mode, which are earning less money. And you have people like Ambani of the world who are earning very small number of people who are making a big money. So the mean is on your right? So the positively skewed means it is highly our income distribution. If we were to draw, it will be like this one. Okay. Now,
sir,
yeah.
but what is the difference between the first and third? I don't understand the graph.
Yeah, the first one is saying that more number of people, because you have cumulative population on the vertical axis, right?
Okay.
So what is mode? Mode is basically saying how much percentage highest. Yeah, so it's because the first one is saying that the more number of people are getting the maximum income, which is not the case in India, right? Because if I'm looking into the top 1 percentile of the Indian population, their per capita income will be more than 20 lakhs per capita per annum, right? So in here, what it is saying that the majority of the people, they're earning, because we are having income on this axis, right? So if your mode is high, so that means your majority of the people are earning less income. You have only
but we have put the mode at the top, like increasing, like we have put the mode as the top of the graph, which means that more, like according to the graph, more population are getting the highest. Is it like that?
In this case, in the first case, yes, the more population are getting the highest, which is not the case, right? Because in India,
then shouldn't income be on the y-axis and population be on the x-axis?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if I take incomes, here you see that here what it is saying, if I'm looking at the positively skewed, what it is saying, that less number of people are more number of people, because I have more number of people are getting less number of income, right? Which is the case in India, because because the mean always get stretched out by the outliers. We have also the largest number of billionaires in Asia living in India, and because of that, you see the mean is stretched towards the right. So ideally, if I'm Mr. Modi, I would like to ensure the middle one, but that middle one is not possible, which is saying that our distribution or our society is quite equal in terms of distribution of income, which is not possible. So the idea is how to ensure that the inequality is less, So that is what this graph is saying. And now let's try to give you this thing, you know. So we have understood that why economics and finance, because it helps us to understand all the policy stuff that you are trying, which is there in front of you, you know. It also helps us to understand, to make the choice. It also helps us to understand from the economy side how to improve the overall well-being of the economy. From the finance side, it is very important because it also helps us to understand that where to put money, how to earn more income, how to, and this is something I haven't spoken, which is how to price various financial instruments. For instance, how much should I, if I were to float one exchange traded fund, what would be the price at which I should be floating that, you know? Or how much interest should I give on fixed deposit? Or for that matter, how much I should charge for as a brokerage firm, you know? So these are the various things that we will be talking about in finance. Now, I want you to, given our discussion, we have discussed quite a bit, is I want each one of you to give me a 300 words write-up, you know, and this is given, you can think of this. Interestingly, if you look into the Olympic medal tally, I was looking into the number of medals we have won this time. So far, we have got only 2 medals, you know, around 600 medals were distributed. So that means we have got only 3% of the total medal, which are now given at the Olympic. Now, if I look into in terms of our market size, as I said, that we are the 3rd largest economy in the world. If I'm looking in terms of the GDP, it is 7th largest. We are explaining 7% of the world market, you know, because the size of the Indian market is 3rd largest in the world. So, and yet in terms of medal, we are getting so less number of medal, you know. But if you look into US and China, just see today, you will find that these are the 2 countries which are the world largest economy and the 2nd largest economy. They are getting the maximum number of medals in the at this Olympic, you know. So how do you justify? So is there any relationship between the medal that any country is getting and how rich that country is? B, what is going wrong in the context of India? And C, can you justify India's performance at the Olympic, you know? So, and why I'm giving this, because as an economist or a graduate of economics or finance, you'll be asked to do 2 types of jobs. The first is, let's say you're working for like KPMG or any consulting firm, you know, so they will give you some data like this, you know, they will give you data on China and India, and they will ask you to write a consulting report. That's how they earn their bread and butter. B, if you try to create something on your own or examine what we call certain hypotheses, meaning you are observing certain trend in the real world, and you want to understand how true or whether actually there is any relationship in that trend that you are observing, you know. So in this case, you are trying to examine this hypothesis that whether there is a relationship between Olympic medal tally and economic growth of any country. Now, if I look into US and China, the answer would be yes, right? Because these are the 2 largest economies in the world, and they're getting the maximum number of Olympic medals at this Tokyo Olympic. But if I were to look into India, this hypothesis is falling flat, because in terms of medal tally, we are, I think, now 49th in position in total number of medal. And if you're looking in terms of, I think, gold, silver, and bronze, I think our rank is even beyond 60, you know. So I want you to think about this, given our discussion, and try to give me a 300-word write-up. And today I have also taken into account how have you performed in your this participation that we were talking in terms of the various thing that we spoke about. And in fact, when we are dealing with this BA in Economics and Finance program, we will be using our curriculum. If you look into our curriculum, this is going to be more applied oriented, in the sense that we will be training you how to collect the data, and the data can be both primary or secondary. Secondary means this data are already published. Primary is you're trying to examine a hypothesis, like the one I said, that whether there is any relationship between Olympic medal tally and let's say per capita income. So you will know how to and where to get the data, and more importantly, what to do with the data, how to interpret the data, because only collecting data won't help. So we are also going to train you in various econometric packages and statistical packages, so that you know what to do with the data, how to forecast, how to come up with any hypothesis testing, or so at the end of the day, you will be equipped to work in various consulting firms. If you want to go for a higher study, you can also do that, because you'll be able to understand how and what to do with the data. And essentially, you are going to act as a, because you know how to interpret the data, essentially you'll be acting as a bridge between, let's say, group company CEO or the director and the one who are actually doing the data crunching. So you know the inside out of the data, you know how to handle the data, you know how to interpret the data, and you know how to take that data and in the policy world and try to use that data. So I think you have understood what you're going to do. You're going to send me this 300-word write-up. I don't need more write-up. Either you can send it to me. I've given my nilanjan.banik@mahindrauniversity.edu.in, and there are going to be 2 winners, and please try to send your entry within let's say Friday. I think that would be fine, and soon we are going to introduce the winners. Okay, so I will stop here, and let's try to see if you have any question. Although you have been interacting, but in spite of that, if you have any other question, please feel free to ask. Any question about the program? Any question about what we are doing? And
Nilanjan, I think Tejasvi has a question.
Tejasvi has a question.
Yeah.
So, Professor, I just wanted to ask. So there was this session earlier in the first week, and it was an interview. And the person who had come, he had said that, and as an advice to the students, he had given that try and work in as many startups as possible when you graduate, because that will give you the most exposure. So, what would an economics and finance graduate? Would an economics and finance graduate have a good place in a startup?
So the startup it's all about the idea, Tejasvi. It has nothing to do whether you are from economics or finance, or let's say you have taken a program from BBA, digital technology or analytics. Now, what I try to argue is there are some basic bare minimum requirement for you to understand this startup business, and this basic bare minimum requirement will come from the courses in economics, finance, statistics, because you will be able to understand how the market works, right? And you will also be able to understand that it's again the choice that do I actually invest in that startup, or do I take that money, or do I do something else? So this this type of mindset, I think, will come more clearly to you once you go through our program. So that would be my short answer to this question, because whether you enroll yourself for BBA digital technology or BBA digital analytics or BA in economics or finance, you will be having some core program, and this is common across all 3 programs. And we try to ensure that this core program will make or help you to come out with a decision or choice in a better way, because you'll be able to relate that with the market, you know. But in economics and finance, you will be maybe getting few more program which will give you far more insight about how market works beyond India, or how you do the pricing and things like that, you know. So I'm not trying to say that a program A or B or C is better than, or trying to compare them, but it's about the attitude. If you're in economics and finance, it's like, again, the basket, right? Because I may have some inclination for economics because I'm trained as an economist, or someone in finance, he or she will be able to tell you. But at the end of the day, in terms of basic, you should have this knowledge across all the 3 programs for you to come up with a startup. Does that answer your question, Tejashi?
So I just, I mean, my main point was that would an economics graduate be capable enough to, or be more useful for a startup? Because I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel that, data and this analysis and interpretation, it would be more useful in big conglomerates like KPMG and all that, but I don't know about startups. So
no, but startup is all about, you have to make your balance sheet. Now, if you don't understand how balance sheet works, or how financial accounting works, I think that's a important skill for you to have before you venture into this thing of startup, So it has even, and I would go to the extent that some of this thing can be, some of this skill can be acquired, because if I give you the example of Dhirubhai Ambani, he never did, or he never went through all these courses, and yet he was able to build one of the largest business empire in the world, So he has all the skill he has acquired in the process of doing the business. So of course you can, don't need to have a degree, but all I'm trying to say that having this degree will help, because you will be able to relate to the market, relate to the numbers in a better way compared to the ones who have not taken this degree. So that would be
all
my
right.
answer.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Sir?
Shreyas, yeah.
I think Gitanjali has a question.
Okay.
I was asking, like, stock markets, they come under economics and finance. We need to have knowledge of economics and finance to enter and function well in the stock market, have profitable outputs from the stock market.
Not necessarily, Gitanjali. Is that Gitanjali or Gayatri? Gayatri.
Gitanjali.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary because I'm not a finance professor, and yet I invest in stock market. But if I were to, let's say, do or go into the depth of the stock market, in the sense that I want to do some option trading, of course, then I will require my knowledge of finance, because I can see the knowledge of finance put into practice if I were to trade in, let's say, call option or various strategy that I want to take in the option market. For that, yes, I need to have some knowledge of finance. But just to trade in the stock market, you can ask, maybe I think I can follow some website and try to see what stocks maybe Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is buying. For that, I don't need anything. I just follow the big guy or the big bull, and then I can make money depending upon what he or she is buying. But for me to, this is what we call price discovery. Price discovery is basically saying that given your knowledge of a particular domain, be it finance or economics, can I come up with a better strategy so that I don't have to follow blindly what some of the big bulls are doing, like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala of the world? Can I also try to become a different type of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala? And for that, yes, you need to have knowledge of economics and finance, because then you are actually, rather than following the strategy followed by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala or maybe some other big investors, you are not following or making your own strategy and making more money. For that, you need to have more knowledge.
Shreya, you had a question? Sorry, Gitanjali. Go ahead.
So how the more depth you have regarding, the more depth of knowledge you have regarding economics and finance, majorly finance, like what exactly comes under it? Like what exactly is needed? I mean, I'm really curious. What do you need?
So what you need, so let's say that you are working in the treasury department of any bank. Okay. So there you will be creating all this esoteric financial product, which you are going to sell it to the, let's say, high net worth individual, what we call HNIs. Now, how you price those products, so it can be a hybrid mod. Hybrid means it can be a combination of debt and equity investment. It can be a pure debt. It can be a pure equity. So it depends upon your risk appetite. Now I'm telling you lots of jargons in a way that it's a hybrid, it's a debt, it's a equity. Now, if you don't have any understanding of finance, you will not be able to appreciate. Of course, what you can do is, you can, if you're a big guy, like if you're sitting with tons of money, you can hire one finance graduate and he or she will be able to tell you where to invest and how much to invest. But if you want to take a conscious decision on your own, I think it's very important for you to understand this knowledge, basic knowledge of economics and finance, which this program is going to give it to you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. In fact, I always encourage my students in my class, when I take that, I actually form some dummy, we actually do dummy trading, in the sense that I teach my student how to trade in the stock market, on what basis. And this group of students, they form a group, they invest their, not actual money, but this nominal, we create some dummy money, which we invest, and we create some dummy portfolio, and we try to see that how the teams are doing, So that makes it much more encouraging and interesting.
Sir, I also wanted to know, like, I'm sorry for asking too many questions.
No. Asking question is always good. Yeah.
Sir, I was asking, like, since I'm not taking the BA in economics and finance program, like, but first year is same for everyone, right?
Right.
So
the basic program is going to be same, but being a part of BA in economics will help you to go into the depth, like the way I was trying to give you the example and try to argue that. But yes, irrespective of whichever program you take, you will still have this core program covering macro, micro, basic finance courses. So you're not going to lose out.
And sir, I was going to ask, like, in the fourth year, like there's even a fourth year, right? So I would, like, can I go a bit into depth in economics and finance?
So fourth year, one thing we have agreed, it's going to be more research oriented. Now, how much credit hours we are going to devote towards research, we have not yet agreed upon. But because I'm using the word research, of course, it's going to help you to go into depth in terms of what you want to pursue. So if you want to pursue more in the area of economics or finance, or or in analytics or technology, digital technology, it depends upon your choice. Depend upon your choice, depending upon the stream you are taking, So we will have to we have not come out with